गुड इवनिंग फ्रेंड्स, स्वागत है आप सभी का डीएस क्लासेस में। मेरा नाम है दिव्यांश श्रीवास्तव और आज का टॉपिक है हमारा वी डिस्कस टुडे डीएनएस। हम डीएनएस आज डिस्कस करने वाले हैं। डीएनएस क्या होता है? डीएनएस स्टैंड्स फॉर डोमेन नेम सिस्टम। तो डोमेन नेम सिस्टम डीएनएस का एक फुल फॉर्म होता है जो क्या करता है? जनरली रिजॉल्व करता है। क्या करता है? रिजॉल्व करता है आईपी एड्रेस को नेम में और नेम को आईपी एड्रेस में। आईपी एड्रेस टू नेम एंड नेम टू आईपी एड्रेस, वैसा वर्जा कह सकते हो आप इसे। तो अब ये इस तरीके से काम करता है, तभी उसका नाम है डोमेन नेमिंग सर्वर। डोमेन नेम सिस्टम है, सॉरी, नॉट अ सर्वर। वी हैव डीएनएस सर्वर इन आवर सिस्टम, राइट। डोमेन नेम सिस्टम में जो है, डोमेन नेम सिस्टम जो है उसका सर्वर बनाया जाता है। तो सबसे पहले बात करते हैं बेसिक इन्फो में अबाउट द डीएनएस। क्या करते हैं? सबसे पहले तो कौन सा पोर्ट यूज करता है, पोर्ट नंबर कौन सा यूज करता है, दैट इज अ मेजर इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन। विच पोर्ट नंबर अ डीएनएस शुड यूज? इट यूज पोर्ट नंबर 53 with the use of two types of protocols. One is UDP, user datagram protocol. Now another one is TCP. UDP is for standard queries, standard DNS query, and the another one query QUERY, and that is for the large data files and all. That is for TCP because UDP doesn't support large; it is for smaller ones. So it uses port number 53. So let's move forward a little more towards the DNS information. In DNS, we have multiple types of zones, right? In DNS, we have zones. Zones are the entities, sorry, the records of the entities. Zones are that particular term which generally defines uh, which type of operation is going to be get performed. That there is two types of zones. One is that the forward lookup zone. Okay, that is a zone number one, and the number two is reverse lookup zone. Reverse lookup zone, that is reverse lookup zone. Forward lookup zone generally resolves name to IP, and reverse lookup, as the name identifies what it does IP to name. For example, divyansh.com, that is one name, it resolves it to 10.0.0.5, that is name to IP address, and same vice versa IP address to name, that is this is reverse lookup, and this is forward lookup FL. I explain like this. And inside these zones there are also three types of zones are there in both the categories. First of all, you know this much from IP to name means IP, suppose we have 10.0.0.3 to, it resolves to Divyansh or ds.com, that is reverse lookup. And same as from Divyansh to, it resolves to 10.0.0.3, that is forward lookup zone. Correct? So what we have discussed what is the port number of a DNS, what a DNS do, what are the DNS zones, the types of DNS zones. Now we discuss about the zones which are inside the forward lookup as well as the reverse lookup zone. Okay, so let's move forward. You guys can take the screenshot as well or note it somewhere. Okay, so we talked about the zones which are inside of these zones. These zones are, first is primary zone. Primary zone. The second one is secondary zone. and the third one is stub zone. They all are contained by both the zones. Okay, forward lookup also contain all these three zones, one, two, and three, and reverse lookup also contains these three zones. What is a primary zone? Primary zone, what it does, it have the right to, it generally stores DNS records. We discussed it. What are the DNS records? It stores, create, modify DNS records. Store, create, modify. It have the read and write access. Secondary zone have only read access to the DNS records. Or you can say that if primary zone fails, if this fails, secondary zone can handle the DNS queries, can still resolve the IP addresses. So that's why we need the secondary zone. If one fails, the second zone can answer your queries, your client queries. Okay, supports and load balancing and for redundancy. Okay, redundancy. That is your secondary zone. Now we talked about stub zone. Stub zone is generally a type of zone which does not contain lots of information. Okay, it only contains three types of records. First is SOA, your start of authority, your name, NS name record, name server record, and the last one is your PTR, IP address or reverse of IP address. Only these three information it contains. Why it contains? Because the stub zone contain multiple domains, multiple domain controllers information. Okay, and if there is a stub zone, your different domains, you can communicate from one domain to another domain with the use of stub zone because it updates automatically. Automatically. That is why stub zone is very powerful. Okay, PTR is same as, what is a PTR? PTR is a pointer record. And what does a pointer record do? Pointer record is just as reverse name to IP and IP to name, just as we discussed. It generally resolves name to IP and IP to name, name to IP and IP to name, resolves of the domain to IP and IP to name. Okay, and as record, that is a name server. Name server, what it contains? It contains the information about the authoritative server. The authoritative server information is contained by your name server. The authoritative DNS जो सर्वर है जिसमें प्राइमरी जोन्स भी आते हैं, तो उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन वो क्या करता है, आपका नेम सर्वर कंटेन करता है. एंड स्टार्ट ऑफ अथॉरिटी इज जनरली the DNS zone info includes the primary as well as the different types of zones. Okay, that is the start of authority. Okay, start of authority is zone का नाम है. Start of authority. So we just wait for 5 or 6 seconds. You guys can read this. You guys can take a screenshot of it. Let's move forward. Let's revise these three things. What we have discussed till now, we have discussed what is a primary zone, what is a secondary zone, and what is a stub zone. What is a stub zone do? It generally allows the communication between the two domains. And what a stub zone contains? The stub zone contains the SOA record, NS record, and a PTR record, right? So let's move forward. Let's move forward, guys. You can take the screenshot or you can pause the video between. Okay, let's discuss another type of things. Now we talked about the DNS records. Okay, what are the DNS records are there? DNS records are there. So DNS records are what? Are the entities of the DNS, right? When we configured the DNS and when we made the domain controller, when we attach the domain controller to the client, the DNS is, I tell you one thing, when we deploy Active Directory domain services in the initial video, there is my video where I have set up Active Directory domain services full setup. Okay, you can watch that video. That in that video we attach, we have one server and we have one client machine, that is client machine, that is server. We made a domain that is deviance.com and we attach to this machine. So we have all the information about this machine and the information about this domain in our DNS uh, tab of that server manager in this server. I will show you in the last how to see that information. We have all the folders also, forward lookup zone, reverse lookup zone, everything we have. So wait for some time till then. Now we going to discuss about the DNS records. So the DNS records are the entities. So let's discuss what are the records. The first is the A record. The second one is four times A, that is quad A, QUARD, quad A, or QUAD, that you can check the spellings as well. That is name server. The fourth one is your SOA, start of authority. The name server, start of authority, and PTR we have already discussed. Okay, the sixth one is SRV record. SRV record is also there. So the first one is A record. A record contains the information about IPv4, means 32-bit IP address information, devices, computer as well as devices information, computers and devices info. Okay, these are there, and let's move a little down to discuss these three zones. Okay, name server we have already discussed. So I've discussed now quad A. Quad A is for generally 64-bit IP address, that is IPv6. There's a 64 IPv6 IP address, IPv6 computer and devices information it contains. Okay, what is SRV? SRV generally defines the location of what? Defines the location of a specific location of the servers for specific services. We have multiple DNS servers, right? That is not necessary. We have only one location of servers or location of servers for specific services. Okay. NS is for the authoritative servers. It contains the information for the authoritative server. Okay. Generally, our DNS server, the main server. And what is start of authority? Start of authority contains the information about the DNS zone info. That is generally a primary zone. What are the read and write information? What are the things? PTR is for just for reverse lookup zone, name to IP, IP to name, name to IP, IP to name resolver, name to IP, and IP to name resolver. That is PTR stands for pointer record. This is pointer record. Okay, that is pointer record. And now we discuss about CNAME. One is the last record that we have, that is CNAME record. CNAME record, and after that also there is one more also, that is MX record and CNAME record. CNAME record is a canonical name record. Okay, CNAME stands for CNAME record. It is generally used for duplicacy or or we can provide a nickname to the domain, right? Nicknames. Okay, so for this we have to configure alias. Configure alias. Okay, that is a CNAME record. MX is for mail exchanger. Mail exchanger record. For generally for the mail services it used. Mail services we use MX record. And the last thing also, stub zone. It is not necessary that our DNS generally use stub zone. Okay, it depends. It depends if you have two domains. Suppose we have one machine and the another machine. Both are server 1, server 2. Server 1 have divyansh.com domain.com and this server 2 have sema.com domain. Okay, and these are attached to some VM. Suppose VM1 as we have attached to our clients, and this is VM2. Okay, so both have the different domain names and both are attached to the different clients. Okay, now I want VM2 to communicate VM1. I want to access to sema.com. Then how? Then in the in the deviance.com DNS, we have to create a stub zone. We have to create a stub zone. In that after we created a stub zone, my VM can access the VM to that server to resolve the IP address or to reach to that server. Okay, so that is the thing. And stub zone is auto updatable. Is on always on auto update. So no need of manual work. Auto update, which means no manual work is needed. Okay. Now one last topic of the DNS as we are about to reach to last, that is DNS query. Okay. There are two types of queries. One is iterative. One is the iterative query and second one is the recursive query. Okay. Iterative query and recursive query. In iterative query, the information or the query is resolved by one server. Okay, the query handles and resolved by one server. Handles and resolves by only one server. And in recursive, it handles by more than one server. Handles by more than one server. Because the first server cannot resolve the query and it passes to the query to the second server or a third server. That is the recursive query. So that's all guys related to DNS. What we have discussed what is DNS. Okay, port number of a DNS. Okay, then we discussed DNS zones. Then we discussed DNS records. Then we discussed DNS queries. Okay, so keep revising guys, keep studying, keep revising. These are the theoretical part. When you actually set up the active directory domain services now, these are the DNS zones. These DNS zones are already get configured because the DNS services already get configured, so it includes everything, the DNS zones also, and the info, all the information. So suppose let's move forward to the labs, and now we tell you about how to see the information about the DNS tab, because my active directory domain services are already configured. If you want to see how to set up Active Directory domain services, you can watch my video. That is one of my initial videos after the ping command test. There is a separate video of Active Directory domain services. Okay, so let's move forward. If you want to take a screenshot, take a screenshot. And after this, just we have to minimize it, go to our, okay, suppose we select already selected our machines, we start the VMs, and when I will show you the DNS information, how to see the particular information of a DNS in your Active Directory domain services. So let's wait for some time, guys. The VMs are going to about to get started. Keeps revising the things. If you don't revise the things, guys, you won't able to get forward. Okay, you might be get confused, get 1 or 2% by seeing my videos, but keeps on revising the things. Okay, if you try to make the Active Directory domain service, try to deploy the things, try to make the things, everyone make mistakes. Okay, so let's try to log into the server. Just go to your RDP file. In your RDP file, guys, my server, that is, let's connect. We only need a server to show you. Okay, let's enter the password of a server. Always remember the IP address of your VM. Okay, if you deploy the services and forget the IP address, then again you have to log into your portal, change the IP address, then you can. So that's why always enter. Okay, we are about to enter to your server VM, and in the server VM, see, so that is a very, when you start doing the services, treating the way as you want the things, you will gain the confidence. Okay, you can also teach your friend, you can also gain the knowledge, get higher grades in the networking as well in the college, but in hands-on labs give you a more experience as compared to the theoretical things. Okay, so let's close this. This is our server manager. Okay, my Active Directory domain services is already configured because it already installed, because of in the initial video. See, when you go to our tools tab, there is a DNS folder, right? Or the DNS entry. You just move into that. See, that is a DNS manager. That is not an entry, that is a DNS manager. You can see the server. Just click into that. See, all these things we have discussed. What is forward lookup zone? What is reverse lookup zone? Just move to forward lookup zone. In the forward lookup zone, you can see my domain name. That is my domain name, devyansh.com. Just enter into it. You can see these things. Okay, this is my client name. Okay, that's the A record. All these are A records because all these are IPv4. Okay, we have discussed the name server this servers.devyansh.com, the start of authority. These are parent folders, my DNS zones, my domain zones, TCP, UDP sites, MS docs, everything you can see from here. These things are there because my Active Directory is already installed. Okay, and how to see if the domain is responding or not. Just log into your client machine. Your DNS server is working fine or not. I will show you the practical also how to check. Okay, if the DNS is working fine or not. Just logging to my client machine. Give the password. We already show you the ping test as well, right? But that is without attachment of domain controller. Now we show you how DNS works, how to know my DNS is working. Go to your command prompt and my domain name is, first of all, we know what is my domain name slash all, that is ipconfig slash all. It generally shows whether my machine is attached to a domain name or not. Okay, see, my primary DNS suffix is divyansh.com, that is my domain name. Okay, and my host name is DNS client host name because that is my machine name. Now we enter a ping divyansh.com. Okay, what I entered name. I didn't enter the IP address. Now I execute the command C, pinging. It resolves and reply from 005. It generally resolves and reply. That is a whose IP address is this? That is a server IP address. It generally resolves that it resolves the name to the IP address. That means my DNS is working fine. Okay, so that is the thing. These are the troubleshoots you can do. Okay, so that's all for my side, guys. This is how that is a DNS is, and that is how you can configure the DNS. You can cross check your DNS whether it is working or not, working fine or not in terms of labs. Okay, when you deploy the Active Directory domain services, the DNS automatically get deployed or configured. Okay, so keep hitting the subscribe button, keep subscribing, keep hitting the bell icon as well. And please, if you have any problem, you can reach out to me. You can drop your comments in the comment box as well. Thank you guys. Keep sharing, keep subscribing. I will find you in the next video. At the if you are new to my channel, you can find me at the red DS classes 9698 on your YouTube search bar. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good